Reading from your notes, you are cautious to bearish, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a bit of a switch for you.
Yeah, Carl, I think there are three problems. One is the overall market problem that we're in high valuations, and looking at the political betting markets, the odds are that we're going to get the Democrats in, and I think that's bad for multiples. I think the best analogy is 1976 with Jimmy Carter. So I think we've got multiple problems, and bull markets are about multiple problems. The second thing is I think we have income statement problems, and we're about a month away from earnings season, and I think the earnings reports are going to read better than they actually eat when people are starting to look at them. And I think we're going to have problems in two areas. The first problem is in the revenue area, and let's just take Google as an example. I think most people think Google is impervious to any kind of problems, but a lot of Google's advertising is in the travel vertical, and that vertical is being decimated, and the advertising, I think, is going to be down. I have no idea how much, but clearly it's going to be down, and that's going to affect revenues. Second thing is incremental costs. All companies at the very least here have had to engage in planning. The world certainly is different than it was on April 1st or March 1st, when they were more or less planning the second quarter on a minute basis, and costs for most companies have increased. So I don't see anything good going on in the income statement. And the other problem, I think, is the product situation. I think the consumer is going to be under pressure. We're not going to see the aggregate economic growth that we looked at. I mean, just today, a healthy company like AutoNation, using technology, and technology has been very helpful in this environment, using technology, has just announced 7,000 layoffs. The auto business is pretty good right now, and people are laying them off in the distribution channel. So I think we're going to see higher unemployment and slower economic growth, and I think short term this is going to be bad for multiples and bad for earnings. And until we get a vaccine, I think the basic direction of the market is down.
Right, and that bet on a vaccine, Larry, is not something that you're really comfortable making a call on, given your expertise. It's just not centered around biotech.
I hope that it happens. The virus is affecting my behavior. I don't want to get on a plane. I don't feel safe taking a road trip. I'm sure I'm not isolated in my beliefs.
James, good morning. It's John Ford. So I want to dig in a little bit more on some of the specific things that you see. I know that you've mentioned Shopify. That is a company that I think is really so interesting because it could be the most important e-commerce company, I think, of the next 5 years. It's sort of the Wintel to Amazon's Apple, horizontal versus vertical. What is it that you see with that company, given where we are in the economy right now, and what are you watching as far as metrics?
Right. I think that
Okay. James, we're going to work on your audio. It seems we lost you for a moment. While I wait to get back to James, Larry, I wonder what you think is going to be the impact of the social disturbances that we've seen and exactly how that ends up affecting the economy as places start to open up. I mean, largely, they seem to have been peaceful aside from some flare-ups. But is there any broader economic effect that you expect to follow on?
I think they are largely one-off. And I think we'll see the impact in the second quarter, and I was very encouraged by the way Tulsa came off, not in terms of the crowds, but in the way the protesters conducted themselves and the authorities conducted themselves, and I thought that was very encouraging. And I'm pretty sure that's something that's last year's war, but I think Shopify is more interesting, Carl. I looked at it pretty extensively. And the market cap of Shopify is $66 billion. The volume in dollars of the music industry globally is $19 billion. And this company makes no economic profits. I'm an old-time guy. I like cash flow. I like revenues.
You're talking about Spotify, of course.
Point, yeah. Or Spotify, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Well, but the Shopify is more or less the same thing. The law of large numbers, I'm not as familiar with that, but because it's not media related. But the law of large numbers gets these people. The valuations in things that are attractive in the stay-at-home area have gotten to levels where I think a reasonable cash flow investor like myself has got to be getting airsick, particularly since if you're bullish on the vaccine, and I think there's no way that you can't be bullish on the vaccine, for these kinds of companies, you're looking at peak multiples or peak earnings, and peak earnings generally are accompanied by low multiples. So I think things like Shopify, Spotify, investors are treading on thin ice, particularly inexperienced ones like we're getting on Robinhood, that sort of thing.